Hello, I have together with me today Carsten Olesen on this episode of Hearables. It's the second episode. I'm particularly looking forward to this because Carsten and I go quite a way back. We've been working together at Harman and I have many fond memories of the times that we spent, the problems that we solved, and the beverages that we drank. So welcome to you, Carsten.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm very much looking forward to this because Carsten is super insightful, specifically in consumer electronics and the commercial aspects of that. Carsten has worked 26 years at Harman. He's an industry veteran, even though he doesn't look like one. But we worked together about 10 years ago at Harman, and Carsten has made an absolutely amazing career out of it. He's today the president of Harman's consumer division. It's a multi-billion-dollar division. It wasn't that before. So the growth is absolutely amazing. It's a plus 10 times revenue from 10 years ago. Amazing development in the company. And I'm very happy to see what became of the small contribution I made back in the day. Welcome, Carsten.
Thank you. And again, super excited to be here today.
Well, thank you very much. Today, we're going to have a topic of how audio is going to change in the next 10 years. 10 years ago, we made a big strategy shift at Harman, shifting from wired and docks into wireless. And that made a huge growth impact on Harman. So today, we'll talk about the not that far past, but the last couple of years, and specifically the Corona time. And then discussing how audio and the audio business will change in the next 10 years. So I'm excited. And Carsten, looking back at the Corona times, a bit more than a year ago, no one knew what was going to hit us. I was in China just before Christmas in 2019. And a month later, the world was turned around. Give me your perspective of what happened, the impact, the mistakes, and the right choices we've made in the past year.
Yeah, it's not ignoring the severity of the pandemic. One could say with some reasoning that calendar 20 has been a year completely full of surprises. If we rewind the clock, around February last year, actually exactly 1 year ago, we learned about the pandemic, the COVID, but it was thought to be something that was happening in China. And then about a month later, it was realized that it was indeed developing very quickly into a global pandemic. Unprecedented in our times. And actually what happens there in the first early weeks is that retail stores are closing, the business is canceling orders, everybody trying to manage their net working capital, having kind of right-sizing their supply chain to an anticipated lower demand. And the industry does actually that quite successfully. So over the course of the spring months, May, June, July, of course, we see a reduced demand because the channels are constrained. But when we come into July, August, the demand actually starts ramping up again. And at that time, global supply chain is cut down. And it's not only a phenomenon unique to Harman or to the consumer electronic industry, it happens everywhere in the automobile sector, white goods, everything that needs long lead time components like semiconductors are in critical situation. And actually since July, August, and until today, many industries are facing back orders and short supplies, and the demand for many applications are up by the consumer, driven by consumer demand, of course this imbalance between supply and demand will inevitably translate into material cost increases that the industry is now trying to manage. And it's in many different areas. It is really wild what's going on. For instance, container rates, just to have things moved from China to key markets like US, Los Angeles, Long Beach Harbor port, we're talking diamond container rates of up to $11,000 for a 40-foot container, normally $2,000. So the spot buy for container freight is up 5 to 7x over normal. So that is really the picture right now. And when we look at another very interesting aspect is the sentiment in the industry. It is bull markets, many places where we look around, I think a large part of that bullishness that we see is driven by the fear of backorder. Channels, retailers, other industries felt the pressure of under-delivering on orders the last 3 quarters, and is stocking up. Even in some sectors, it's not supported by sell-through. So right now we see an inflation of prices all around, and of course for consumer electronics, momentarily isolated scene, it's quite positive because people are not traveling, going on restaurants, concerts. So many consumers are afraid of what's happening in the stock markets, although it's actually doing phenomenal. These funds, these money are finding their way into home appliances, also consumer electronics. So that's kind of a snapshot, Nikolai, of what we see in a recap of what I've seen the last 4 quarters. I started off saying calendar 20 was full of surprises, and we were many in October, November that thought, calendar 20 is soon over. Fantastic. We're going to look forward to a normal calendar 21, but calendar 21 will be as full of surprises as calendar 20. When the global supply chain is out of balance, it can take up to 1 year, 1.5 years to find stabilization. And then if the market slides back, business slides back, is the global markets could stand with an oversupply challenge in 1.5 years from now. So all business leaders must watch out very carefully and understand the dynamics of their business to cope with the challenges we see. Is not normal times, and I doubt it will return very soon.
It's kind of like a yo-yo effect, right? A bit too much, a bit too less.
Yeah.
And also seeing the cost of raw materials just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
It makes a very volatile supply chain for the business as such.
Yes.
Also for other business, as you said. Now, you already started addressing 21. Obviously, with you here, I want to have a bit of a longer perspective than just 21. Like the 10s were the year of wireless audio. It was still like rendering devices for computers or for phones, but it was really a wild change of what it used to be with docks and cabled headphones. Now, moving into the next 10 years, what do you see happening that excites you? And also as an audio company, how do you see the audio space changing?
I look at the future very, very brightly, and I think I call the 20s going to be the new decade of sound, and there's a lot of developments in many areas that will be pushing audio up over the next 10 years. Actually, audio in general is up. The consumption of headphones, the consumption of gaming equipment, all around it's going up, and is projected. Many categories are projected to grow quite significantly over the next 5 years. So I look at that development with a certain degree of optimism, but of course also the competitive dynamics in the audio industry is changing as well, as big tech is coming in the market with new business models and audio devices. However, when we look at audio and sound, and also maybe going back a little bit more than 10 years, I start throwing that out because going a little bit longer back will illustrate what I believe will happen in the future. So there's quite a difference between the audio experience and the video experience. I can't forget, I'm from that generation. We had a household radio. We also had TV, but that household radio was very often the center of attention in the evening, and we were listening to music or radio programs or the news. It was a single source of information in the house. And then of course we got the TV in black and white, which added another incredible dimension, because now you had both audio and video. But I'm mentioning the differential in experience because I carry still this with me, that the audio experience is a differentiated experience when you compare it to video. And as you are listening to an audio track, a news program, and only using audio, the brain starts working. It's not a lazy experience. When you have a video experience, it's a fantastic graphic experience. We are very visual as human beings, but everything is served, and there's less left for imagination. That's why the audio experience in many ways are more intense. Now fast wind closer to today. I remember, Nikolai, 10 years ago, if somebody made a podcast, it was just high-end. And it was not only high-end, it was edgy. But at the same time, it was an incredible narrow media. Today, every newspaper has several audio post channels, and audio podcasts have increased significantly, and you will expect that. And it's simply driven by, I think, a return to that audio experience that a podcast can bring you. Without video imaging disturbance, the focus and what you can take away from a podcast you're listening to for 15 minutes is very, very different from listening to the radio interrupted by commercials. You have somebody smart talking about a super interesting subject, and maybe you're lying on the couch with headphones on, with closing your eyes, deeply focused on listening. That experience is also valued by many of the younger generations. We know that from last year, Harman conducted some studies with Future Source about the role of audio in Generation C and Z life, and just shortly, it's highly valued. Then, if we add, so that experience is on return. You see the number of vinyl and records and being sold is a surprise. Of course, it's USB drives, but record players and vinyls are back, so many things. Then, of course, compared to the household radio experience that I partly grew up with, the world has and technology has pushed the mobility aspect of it, and that is another incredible dimension that's added. First, we had if it's mobile connections, we had 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 4G actually gives you quite some bandwidth to play with, and we are going to 5G, which will push the envelope in terms of audio resolutions and what you can do in broadcasting audio over 5G. But then came gaming. And gaming has developed from something entertaining and maybe a little bit nerdy to something really mainstream. But in the past, where the culturally defining moments were really about music and what you listened to and the bands that you knew, the record collection you had, and later on how many downloads you had on your iPhone or iPod. It is really what games are you playing, also gaming has become mobile, and with the higher bandwidth of let's say the mobile networks. Also, the soundtracks within gaming have expanded incredible. When you take games like Fortnite, you really have guys like Marshmello who grew, really grew his career, accelerated his career in DJing and mixing incredible soundtracks. You have also parts of Fortnite is recorded by symphony orchestras, and the broadcasting over 4G make that an audible experience. So now you have gaming, visual, but the audio part is taking a center stage as well, and you can see the impact that it has on playback devices. I'm talking about hardware for gaming. A piece of gaming headphones today is not only a $39 device. It is really a quality devices with very sophisticated audio technologies for head tracking, for 3D sound imaging. It's very important to listen and hear where the enemy is coming from, for instance, in Fortnite or any other game like that, to hear, is the enemy coming from above, from below, from behind? And the technologies are there today. Harman has launched our proprietary technologies. Dolby and others are in the space. And it just gives the listener, the gamer, an incredible audio experience as well. And you can also say the availability of audio everywhere has pushed mobility and the mobile audio experience, and also have relieved, in a way, and provided freedom into the way we listen. In the past, we had to sit in front of the household radio, and it was a cultural moment for the family. I believe so, and that has become more individualized, because now I can lie on the couch. My son may be sitting in his room gaming, and so the audio experience plays today an increasing role. Other areas of importance and significance is, of course, today we speak to our products with voice. So microphones, microphone arrays, transducers, compact devices. We are talking to our fridge, we are talking to our Hoovers, and to our Google devices, Alexa devices. So audio also becomes the interface when browsing and when finding your favorite tracks. You don't need to start something up. You can lie on the couch and say, okay, play this track, and it will come right away. So the access to audio experience, whether you are in the home or on the go, has never been easier than it is today. Simply these trends that we can see the last 40, 50 years will just continue and actually accelerate. Yeah, so I am absolutely sure that audio is playing a continued increasing role in interface and experience, because audio can do something that video cannot.
When we started our conversation, and we spoke for quite a while before recording the session, because we haven't seen each other for a while. And
yes, there was some catch-up work to do.
Exactly. Yeah. But the first thing we did was logging on to the conferencing and saying, hey, are you there? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, that's a service device integration. Like the service is disconnected from the rendering device that is supposed to connect with it. And when we're seeing gaming, we're seeing huge advances in spatial audio, in spatial awareness, in much more advanced conversations than we have in the business side. Do you see some of the technologies from the gaming side emerging into business, or do you think that will take much longer time?
I can clearly see that happening, and actually, categories are converging. Categories that were separated are now embedded on the same platforms. Like light and audio on the same platform. So yes, I do believe that. And when you look at home working and that whole thing, and what do you need to have an efficient work space from home? You need, of course, a good Wi-Fi. You need a good 5G router, but then you need a microphone. You need headphones. Or if you don't like to have headphones on, you have a great pair of monitors on your desk in front of you, because many hours of intense working with audio as a carrying media can be fatiguing without good equipment. Now, what do you need to do? What do you need to have for a good gaming equipment? Well, you need a good microphone. You need good sound. So the gaming headphones is having a boom microphone, because chat communication is very important for the gamer. Crystal clear, sharp commands, especially when you're playing teams against teams, right? It's got to go fast, but the hardware is similar. I believe that let's say in the past you would have hardware for specific purposes, and in the future, and what we have today, more of these different categories and devices will become more versatile. For instance, let's stay on the work from home gaming hardware application area. There's a new area, actually from the pro world, they wouldn't call it new. It's already not a new finding, but it's just the value of the home creation market in terms of audio recording. What people are doing in their home studio is not small, and the value of the kind of consumer facing home studio market is high. That value is higher than the professional studio market. Today, with a sound card and a few investments in some reasonable hardware, you have already saved yourself a few expensive hours in the studio, and then again, you can absolutely create your own soundtrack and actually almost launch it on Spotify directly without any let's say processing in between. However, the professional studios, of course, have equipment and domain competence in recording and building up sound. I'm not suggesting that you can do the same in the house, but you can do close. And again, so if you have an equipment, let's say your YouTube channel content provider, you make your YouTube video stream or TikTok, basically there's a lot of commonalities between these devices, right? And examples from another place is up to, and you still have, of course, when you look at the headphone market, you had previously a very distinct sports market for headphones, and then you had headphones for non-sports or lifestyle, and today it's all convergence. Like we're using sports shoes and sneakers in the office, we are also using sports equipment for headphones. So yes, I think devices are going to be from you can configure and tailor and personalize the experience to match that what you want, or you can configure the products in ways. For instance, if I want to do home recordings, I need a flat frequency response from my monitors, but when I listen to music playback, I want full color sound. And there's no reason why these monitors standing on my desk shouldn't be able to do all of that. It's just different settings, different modes. So a lot of things, lots of development, and I think for those who can read it, it will be very exciting to perform in the decade of sound.
I completely agree with you on the versatility of products, and also that products will stop existing that are made for one particular thing. Not stop, but it will be way less. It will be much more versatile products.
Yes.
We tried doing that with the Dash as a proof of concept when we did build that product.
Yes.
That we tried out many different integrations, and I truly believe that versatile, adaptable products are going to make a difference, because I'm looking at my desk. I have eight audio emitting devices on my desk.
Yes.
And why should I have 8 of them, right? I should have way less, but able to do more. So I think for like ecology and reasons for not making too many devices, I think the number of devices will reduce, but the importance of each of them will increase. What do you think about that?
I think that's correct. I do believe that I have in the room I am in, I have, I don't know how many audio devices, and they are all not necessary. It's also because guys like you and I, we just love the gear, and we must have it, and at least use it one time, and try to set it up without the manual, right? Because reading the manual is not for us, right? When you buy a computer, when you buy a smart device, you start downloading apps, you start to personalize the experience. You'll have to choose your browser, Bing, Yahoo, Google Chrome, what have you. And let's say this is for most consumers completely normal. That when you buy a computer, when you buy an audio device, it's all done. And there's of course you can tweak on what the supplier wants you to have, but there are still limitations and imperfections in the market that over time, I agree, will be smoothed out because of market forces. For instance, right now, when you look at voice speakers, or AI speakers, that development is still, let's say, going on, and the consumption is increasing, but in a way not as fast as predicted, because here you have. Today, when you want to have you can't have a conversation with Google. You can. It's not a seamless experience. If I say, "Hey Google," I don't know how many devices in here is lighting up. They're all listening the whole time. But with AI speakers, you really have to choose when you buy. Am I buying into a Google device? Am I buying into this? And in China, QQ, and you have to select the different engines. The future is that the consumer must be able to choose himself. So Harman, among with many others, are supporting a consortium where everything comes together. And I believe when you buy a Harman voice speaker, that you need to be able to configure that yourself. And why not? But industry policies, we know that this is driving it right now, but I believe it will be temporary, because to your point, it's the consumer who in the end decides what he wanna buy, and it's not the industry that decides what we want the consumer to buy. So it's all use case driven, and it will continue to be so.
On that note, which was an expensive lesson learned many years ago.
Yes.
I want to thank you very much for taking the time to join me today, and for the insight. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I hope that it was a pleasure for everyone out there too. If you have any questions to Carsten, write them below, or to me, and we'll try to answer them as good as we can. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining in, Carsten.
Thanks again, and thanks for having me, Nikolai.